Frida Brown. I'm the Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion here at Kent State. Allow me to welcome you to the Kent campus. It is an honor for Kent State University to host the Spirit of Women in Business Luncheon and to share the values and vision of this important organization. It is my privilege today to introduce one of the individuals who contribute greatly not only to Kent State's inclusive excellence, but also to the well-being of the greater Northeast Ohio community. Roxia Boykin is the current President's Ambassador, which is a Kent State diversity program targeting regional leaders. University President Lester Lefton appoints one ambassador each year. The ambassador is a recognized leader in his or her field and who serves as a catalyst for change at Kent State. Through programs, lectures, teaching, and other activities, the ambassador promotes pluralistic understanding and mutual respect among diverse constituencies of students, faculty, staff, and administrators. We also often call upon the ambassador to foster community partnerships and impart lessons in diversity from their careers. This is a difficult job description, but Roxia Boykin fits the role perfectly. Since 2007, she has been Summa Health System's Vice President for Community Benefit and Diversity. Prior to coming to Akron, Ms. Boykin held leadership positions for major medical and healthcare institutions in Cleveland and Youngstown, including Forum Health, the Metro Health System, and St. Luke's Medical Center. We are pleased she is affiliated with Kent State, and we are grateful for her contributions to Kent State and to the Northeast Ohio community. I would like to call on her now to introduce our keynote speaker, Ms. Boykin.
Well, all I can say is, wow, and I feel like an up woman. What's up? Undeniably powerful woman. We learned that this morning. So thank you, Dr. Brown. It is indeed my honor and pleasure to introduce Regina Brett. I am, as you heard, a proud Kent State graduate and someone who understands the unique challenges of navigating the business world as a woman, and as a woman who has benefited from the support of other women and wants to pay that forward. I am delighted to join you here. I know that each of you will leave here with new and helpful information, insights, and inspiration. Before I introduce our luncheon keynote speaker, however, I would like to thank Veronica Cook-Ewell and Pat Nash and their planning committee. For this awesome and another up term, undeniably powerful conference. Thank you, Dolores, for teaching that to me this morning. Our speaker has proven to be among the best anywhere when it comes to inspiring others. I note with pride that Regina Brett shares my status as a Kent State alumna. Regina grew up a few miles from here in Ravenna. She has never forgotten her roots, and her hometown has never forgotten her. In fact, last fall she was inducted into the Ravenna School District Hall of Fame. After graduating with a degree in journalism, Ms. Brett was a reporter for the Lorraine Journal and the Beacon Journal. But the truth is, even as a student on this campus, she was making a mark with words. I think it's safe to say that Regina Brett is best known for her wonderful columns in Cleveland's Plain Dealer, which she has been producing for 12 years now. Her work has been widely recognized. She has taken home 2 first-place prizes from the prestigious National Headliner Awards. They were for her highly personal columns about her experiences with breast cancer. She has been named Best Columnist in Ohio by the Associated Press, the Press Club of Cleveland, and the Society of Professional Journalists, and she has also been twice nominated as a Pulitzer Prize finalist for commentary, and this is the short list of many richly deserved honors. I think the greatest tribute to her talent are the many people worldwide, especially women, who have found comfort and hope in her words. I would not be surprised if some of you had a Regina Brett column in your wallet or perhaps on your refrigerator right now. If you do, it's very likely to be her most popular column to date, 50 Life Lessons. Miss Brett wrote that column when she turned 50. That column and the overwhelming response to it led to her recently published book, God Never Blinks, 50 Lessons for Life's Little Detours. You will have the opportunity to purchase and have autographed this book at the networking session later this afternoon. Our speaker is likely to be a familiar face or voice to many of you. She is a frequent guest on local television news shows, has been interviewed on local radio, and has had her own weekly radio show since 2006. Since September 2010, she has also hosted the Regina Brett Show, a weekly call-in radio show heard on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on 89.7 WKSU, Kent State University in Northeast Ohio's NPR affiliate station. I have had the opportunity to hear Miss Brett twice before, and I can guarantee that you are in for a real treat. To state the obvious, we are fortunate and truly delighted to welcome Regina back to her alma mater. Please join me now in a warm welcome for an alumnus who has used and continues to use her Kent State education and her considerable gifts to touch countless lives. Regina Brett.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. Well, it is great to be back, but if these walls could talk, they would take my degree back, I think. You know, it's funny, we're going through all these sessions about becoming the woman we want to be, and I think about the woman I used to be, and this campus has so many pieces of who I am, and I took a lot with me, including a cafeteria tray, a bright orange one, that is still in my kitchen from 1974. It is the most durable thing, I swear, those trays. Sled riding, carving pumpkins, whatever. I also spent a lot of time in the student center playing euchre. I think I could have got a degree in euchre. And I do want to thank Kent State because they had this thing called an academic forgiveness policy, which actually helped me to get my degree. And that's not even a joke, that's the absolute truth. I'm one of those people that when people say, when did you graduate from college? I have to tell a story with it because I started at Kent State in 1974. I graduated in 1986. Now, if you do the math, I might be one of the longest timeline students here, but I did take a big break. And it was a break that wasn't planned, and it's part of my journey, and I want to share a bit of that. And as I tell my story today, I really kind of want you to look in your own rear view mirror a little bit, because we talk so much about the woman we want to be and how we want to be empowered, and we're going to leave with a to-do list of 100 more things. But I think it's important to remember what made us who we are and how far we've already come, and even honor that person we used to be. I've already taken so many notes today. Wow. Dolores Presley has taught me, when fear knocks on your door, don't give it the key. Dolores, I'm changing the lock on my door. I got way too much fear. And I've learned that the way to get rid of the fear in your life is you confront it or you let it confront you. I used to be afraid of big dogs. I don't know why. And then one day I was attacked by a big dog, bit 4 times. I'm no longer afraid of big dogs because the worst thing happened. And think about it. Sometimes what you're afraid of, once it happens, it becomes your companion in life. It's no big thing. So Dolores, thank you for that lesson. And then I went to my first session and Barbara Blake talked, and she said, what should I keep doing? What should I do more of? And what should I stop doing? She said, the power is in the stopping. Isn't that great? The power is in the stopping. So I got to figure that one out. And then she also said, get rid of the F word. I'm thinking, the F word? Does she use the F word? She said the F word is for women is to say, I feel like we should do X, Y, Z. I feel like we need a new plan. She says, cut out the F word, cut out the feeling and just get right to it. She says, men don't feel, they just act. So I'm going to do more of that. And then she also said, this isn't the diva one, develop your inner diva. Leslie Unger, this was great. She said, we all need something to feel empowered. For some people, it's 5-inch heels, which has never been for me. For other people, it's a BMW. I used to have a lot of suits with shoulder pads. Remember the 80s? Women had to look like men to have power, so we were linebackers. I finally got rid of all those suits. I mailed them to my sister. Now she looks like the linebacker for the Browns. For some people, it's tattoos. And I think what we're learning today is it's really an inside job, that power. It's really already within us. My husband always tells me, just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, click your heels. You already have it. We need to kind of reach in there and grab it and pull it out. The other thing about developing the diva, she said, draw attention to yourself, to your mouth, to your upper neck. Men do it with ties, So I have my little glittery. This was my Oprah dress. I was waiting for Oprah to call me. I thought, well, I'll just wear it to Kent State. You never know where Oprah could find you. And then my friend Vicki came with me. Vicki's like my Gail, If I was Oprah, she's my Gail. So Vicki and I said, we're going to come up with a diva plan after we leave here. So any tips you might give, send them to my email address about how to be more of that diva, that inner diva. I didn't used to even think that I had that in me. When I grew up in Ravenna, it was a small town, and I've heard today people talking about kind of that false idea we have of who we are, those silent beliefs. And I've always felt like I'm just this kid from Ravenna, from the big family that lived by the railroad tracks. And even though I've been a Pulitzer finalist twice and have a best-selling book, there are days I hear that little voice that says, you're just a kid from Ravenna, living by the railroad tracks. But we all have that little Fred Flintstone devil on the shoulder voice. You want to go whack, whack, get out of there. And you know what? The only way to get rid of that is from within. I want to share a little bit about my journey. The people that transformed me really weren't people that had a lot of power in the world. My mom had 11 kids. She was just busy doing mountains of laundry. It looked like the Appalachians in the basement, piles of laundry. My mom didn't have power in the world, but she had power in the home. When she said, I'm telling your dad, oh my gosh, that was her power stick. But one of the people that touched my life most was my little grandma, my little Slovak grandmother. She was about this tall, and she was the old-fashioned kind of grandma that didn't care how they looked. I see a few heads nodding. Botox, forget it. My grandma had all of her hair in a little bun with like 100 hairpins. She spoke broken English. She was right off the boat from Czechoslovakia. She thought my name was Virginia. She couldn't say Regina. So whenever I got a birthday card addressed to Virginia Brett, I'm like, Grandma just sent me a card, My little grandmother always wore an apron and a babushka. And she wore little support stockings rolled in a donut at her ankles. She was not a fashionista, But what my grandmother did for me is she left an imprint on my life. And my grandma had no power in the world. When she died, I don't know what they put in the obituary. There wasn't a lot to say as far as what she did in the world. She lived on a little farm out in Drakesburg, which is out in Shalersville, which is out in North Portage County, which some of you might know where that's at. And she would be there every time we'd come to visit. My dad would drive us out to Drakesburg, and my grandmother would be at the driveway waiting for us, so happy to see us. Now, when you come from a family of 11 children, most people are not happy to see you pull in the station wagon. My grandmother had kolache waiting and pig in the blankets, and we'd have this feast, even though she had nothing. I mean, they lived on a farm. They were poor farmers. She'd clean houses for a living a little bit. But when we would leave her house, she would stand at the top of that driveway and wave until we couldn't see her anymore. And I felt the imprint of that wave, and I still feel it. She died when I was 17. I'm 55, and I can still feel the imprint of my grandmother's wave. Here's a woman who didn't have power in the world, but had the power of love and left that imprint on me, and it's in everything I write, in everybody I meet, and I pass that on. And to me, what we learned today about our power is that inner power. And those people that didn't have it but still had it, she never wore heels, those bright red heels, 5-inch, whatever. Her power was just in her love. And those are the people that really transformed my life. My life took a lot of zigzag routes, There's this country music song I love. It says, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you. Well, I have this zigzag path, and when I grew up in Ravenna, everybody loved country music. They used to have, the guys had the big letters Ford in the back of their truck about 10 inches high. And they used to say, what happens when you play a country music backwards? You get your dog back, your truck back, your wife back, all that brokenness. Well, that was my life. My life was kind of a country music song. He done me wrong. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug, I was the bug. So at Kent State University, I had plans to be a forest ranger because Mr. Roberto taught me the love of science. I came to Kent State, I was going to be a biology major, and then I flunked chemistry. Okay, maybe I won't major in biology. So I was going to major in botany. Well, I got a D in zoology, and I'm like, okay, maybe not botany. So I changed my major to conservation. And then I got pregnant at 21, and everything came crashing down in my world here at Kent State. And all my plans to be a forest ranger, that was my big dream. I'm going to be a forest ranger, have 5 kids, live happily ever after. It all fell apart. And you know what happened? Life gave me a better plan. I had this daughter who turned 34 on Sunday. God, do I feel old. I have a daughter 34. They torn down my grade school in Ravenna. They closed my high school, and they inducted me in the Hall of Fame. And on the internet, it says I'm 90. I mean, wow. Like, that's a lot of whammies coming at you. But that daughter I had at 21 that seemed like the worst thing in my life, that made me feel powerless and hopeless and helpless, became the gift in my life that propelled me forward, because everything then had to be for her. Every job had to be better for her. And some of us need that. Some of us sometimes do it for our kids. That's okay. If that's what it takes, you do it. And you know what? I worked a lot of jobs I didn't like, and every job gave me something I use to this day. I remember wearing a hairnet at Ravenna in the hospital, putting prune whip on the trays and the conveyor belt. You know, not the job I wanted, but you know what? Thank goodness for the people that do that and feed the sick. It taught me to be present for others. I worked at the public defender's office. It taught me to type legal briefs. And I learned to type for a living, which I hated, but wow, I'm a writer now. All those jobs. When I was at Kent State, I was on the volunteer ambulance they had here. I was an EMT. I was an emergency medical technician. They taught me to work on deadlines. Well, guess what? In the newsroom, you have deadlines. When people are working, they're like, I'm on deadline, they're freaking out. I'm like, deadline having a story due versus a heart not beating? Wow, that ambulance job taught me a lot about what matters. So all the broken pieces of your life, if you gather them up, that's your gift. That's your power. A lot of us want to run from the brokenness. Excuse me. We don't want to share it. We want to hide our wounds. We want to pretty them up. Your wounds are your greatest gift. Your greatest gift. When I had that daughter at 21, I was so ashamed back then in 1978 when she was born. When I was looking for maternity clothes, I remember keeping my left hand in my pocket at Sears because I didn't want them to know I wasn't married. Well, you know what? I tell the story of my daughter every time I talk because she's the greatest gift in my life. And all of you have something that changed, a divorce, a job loss, a death, something that took you on a different path you never imagined. It's the right path. You just got to trust that path. And that story I told about my daughter has helped me. I met a woman years ago who had a friend who got pregnant, didn't know what to do, said, I know you share that story. Can you help her? Of course. That's what we do. Carry as you climb. That means you help the next person up the ladder. Not just